So a little evidence that it is possible for a government to encourage Apple to bring manufacturing home. The Indian government has pretty strict rules about what kinds of devices can be sold in India, and in general, they're trying to strongly encourage companies to manufacture devices in India if they want to sell them there. And it looks like Apple's close to making a deal to manufacture iPhones in India. And the tit for tat is in order to open retail stores in the country. And according to a government official, this story from 9 to 5 Mac, it's almost a done deal. Actually, Wall Street Journal had that story. A meeting today between a team of Apple executives and senior Indian government officials. So we've heard kind of some drumbeat that Apple might be, or Foxconn might be looking at manufacturing iPhones in the U.S. as well, because of President Trump. That would be interesting.
How far does that? I mean, to me, it's like, how far does it scale? Because Brazil did this earlier. Brazil has huge
Foxconn
import taxes,
right?
And then does Canada and Germany, and I feel like Belgium. It's just 256 countries. 156 of them want their iPhones
if
made
it's
locally.
a big market, and Brazil's a big market, India's a big market, obviously the U.S. and China,
Russia,
then they have the market clout to say, no, we want you to make it here.
EU's a big market.
There's a good reason that Foxconn is building 60,000 robots a year.
Whether it will add to jobs in the long run is another question.
I mean, this idea that having the factory in your country makes a difference is quickly fading. I mean, this whole concept that globalization is what's costing people jobs is becoming less and less useful.
Automation is what's going to ultimately cost people jobs. And then there is this issue of is a trade war good for anybody? You know, if you start putting big tariffs on items brought in from China, well, there's and those tariffs end up being paid by you and me, not by.
And I'm almost rabidly pro-labor, but even I recognize that when it comes to forcing a company to manufacture a product a specific way, or manufacture specific products, full stop, that tends to be really, really limited. If California has an emissions law that applies to all cars sold there, if it makes sense for GM to make all cars that way, or if it's efficient for them to make all cars that way, they'll just make all cars they sell everywhere that way. However, if you force them to create a certain amount of electric vehicles 20 years before they think it's practical, they will create a leasing program. They will build 1,500 to 1,800 of them, and then meanwhile put more money into fighting this than actually building the stuff, and they'll pull them off the road as soon as they have any opportunity to do so.